What is up, movie viewers? Dena Views and Reviews here, asking what you watching. Well, today I am watching Tyler Perry's Divorce in the Black. Now, this movie stars Megan Good, Corey Hardwick, Ursula O. Robinson, Richard Lawson, Taylor Polidor Williams, Shannon Wallace, Debbie Morgan, and Joseph Lee Anderson. It is written, directed, and produced by Tyler Perry. It is also produced by Will Aru, Diane Ashford, Angie Bones, Megan Good, Chloe D. Mexile, Andy Norman, and Carol Burst. Tyler Perry's new movie, Divorce in the Black, is the first of a four-film deal that director, producer, and actor Tyler Perry has with Amazon Prime. Mr. Perry is now simultaneously producing content for both Netflix as well as Amazon Prime Video. Now, Divorce in the Black focuses on the story of Ava, who is played by Megan Good, and her dear, sweet husband, Dallas Bertrand, played by Corey Hardwick. Now, these two actors are very familiar to most people, mainly because of their own public divorces, and perhaps that is the reason that they were both chosen. What do you think? Now, the film tells the story of Ava, who is a young bank professional in a very abusive marriage, and how she is dealing with and reacting to being constantly humiliated by her husband. Ava and Dallas are preparing in one scene to meet friends at a restaurant for dinner. Dallas wants to leave, but Ava just got home from work and wants to shower and change her clothes. So she goes upstairs to do so, only to return and find that Dallas has left her. He's left her high and dry. He's gone. So she gets in the car and goes to the restaurant to find her husband. They're seated with their friends, already seemingly in a bit inebriated. He simply up and left her, drove to the restaurant without her. What a creep. To make matters worse, Dallas makes a devastating announcement at dinner with their friends. He loudly proclaims at the restaurant dinner table that he wants a divorce from Ava. Everyone in the establishment turns and watches the debacle. Ava is shocked and she is clearly embarrassed, but she sits motionless, staring into space while he stands up. His friend is trying to calm him down, but he continues to draw further attention by getting up and leaving. And Ava is just sitting there while all of the other patrons of the restaurant have their eyes and they're pierced toward her. It's a very humiliating and heartbreaking scene. But Ava sits there. And I just remember while she was sitting there when I watched Fred Sanford, and he told his son Lamont when his fiance left him standing at the altar, "Yeah, son, you still there looking like a fool. You look like a dummy." But anyway, this sends Ava into an emotional turmoil. She is devastated, and she goes to her parents' home. In her old bedroom, she is found sobbing and being consoled by her mom. And while she is there, she is also conveniently trying to be hooked up with an old boyfriend by the name of Benji. That's her parents. They're trying to do this. He is a divorced single father. And perhaps this Christian couple somehow forgot, or it just cleared their mind that she hadn't resolved her current relationship situation as of yet. But this movie really pulled me in with its opening. I thought it was such a good, creative opening scene. Right off, it grabs your attention, and it, like I said, it pulls you in. Now, Ava's father is, of course, a preacher, and his name is Clarence. He's played by Richard Lawson. He is delivering a sermon at the funeral over Dallas's brother Casket, who is, quote, one of the Bertrand boys. Now, I gotta say, Clarence was dead ass wrong for the manner in which he was eulogizing Ava's brother in law. TAP, bruh, TAP. This is what my mom would say to us as children, and that means time and place. She tell us there is a time and a place for everything, and that just wasn't it in this case. Regardless of the manner in which this soul transitioned, he himself chose to stand as the judge and the jury over this deceased body with no respect to the deceased loved ones, their grief or their bereavement. He should have excused himself, even if he felt some kind of way. Now, even if everything he said happened to be true, that wasn't the time nor was it the place to do so. Realistically, he should have just allowed someone else to do the service or offered a grave side funeral instead, by which the Bertrands could have conducted it themselves. It kind of made him seem holier than thou, or if as if he's being self-righteous, looking down on the Bertrand clan. But of course, that is make believe, and it would have taken away from the drama or the moment, and then less entertaining if they had have done it that way. And yes, I did think it was very entertaining. Now, when Mama Bertrand feels disrespected and decides to leave the funeral, she starts taking out the hand-me-down clothes and demands that her boys remove their brother's body from that casket. It was an excellent lead in that movie. I was hooked, like, uh-oh, this is gonna be good. So it pulls you in and it gets your attention, but it then seems like the pace begins to slow down, and it almost feels like it nosedives a little. It just seemed as if the storyline moved too fast to the ending, and for some reason I kind of felt like I missed something, or something was left out. Now, from the start, Dallas was just so very hateful, resentful, and demeaning to poor Ava. But I felt like there needed to be more background story on Dallas and his family as well. Perhaps a bit more of him and his character development. At some point, he must have loved Ava, or was at least infatuated with her, or was he? Maybe there should just been a bit more on how and why he evolved into the kind of man that would treat her as badly as he did in this movie. The resentment, the hatefulness, it was straight out the bag. Even throwing in a comment about black women. But I just felt like I needed to understand how he evolved into the person that he was, the behavior that we were witnessing, how he got to that point. And it is mainly why I chose to give this movie a 3 out of 5 stars. It is an interesting movie, no doubt, but there were some things that it kind of tickled me. I have not, I can't say watching this movie that it wasn't completely realistic, couldn't be realistic, because I have witnessed guys that treat women similar or worse. And I do know women that have stayed in bad relationship with guys like this or similar for decades. And no matter what I say or anyone else have said to them, they will not leave them. He usually have to do what Dallas did. He just decides to move on his own. So even though Tyler Perry has some critics out there, which is very normal and expected, he's making some things that are relatable. There are scenarios that some women can relate to, not everyone, but it's relatable. I felt it just needed a more of a backstory on those Bertrands. I personally found them to be wildly entertaining as a group. And I don't know if Tyler Perry would ever hear this review, but if he does, I would love for him to consider making a series or a show about them Bertrands. Furthermore, I think this movie would have been a good mini series, so that it would have allowed you more into the life and the experiences of Dallas's, explaining what, whom, and why he had become the person that we saw him in this movie when it comes to Ava. But even with Ava as well, because she also had some personal issues that allowed her to be treated this way, to accept mental, physical, and emotional abuse from this kind of guy. That way, it would not have seemed just simply a good versus evil or rich versus poor or the Montagues and the Capulets without the Romeo. And although this movie is very entertaining, at times I did feel as if it just progressed too quickly. And it became to the point where it was like a predictable ending for me. And maybe that was the intent. I can't say, but when films do that, you sometimes are left with a feeling like you just missed something, or maybe something was left out of the story. Now, I think this would have made a good 6 or 8 part series that was called Divorce in Black, and would have really given an opportunity to connect with each character, that character development stuff. But the sex scene between Ava and Benji, now that looked kind of inelegant or somewhat clumsy to me. Megan looked like she was being hurt or attacked, especially when they were by the front door. I know movies like to have these scenes where they're just hot and heavy and they're bouncing off the wall and tearing up the furniture. But in this case, it just looked like she was being attacked by Benji. And then when he was laying on the sofa, it just seemed like somebody said, cut. Maybe it's because she's so tiny. I thought he injured her when they were making the scene. I just did not feel their chemistry. I didn't feel any chemistry between them as a couple, and actors in that scene. I just didn't. It is still an interesting movie. It starts high, it slows down a bit, but it still delivers as intended. I gotta shout out Tyler Perry before I end this for paying these black actors and actresses their worth. My husband shared with me that Megan Good said she began to cry when Mr. Perry did in fact pay what she requested, and that he responded in a way as to say that he knew what her worth was. I was so very pleased to hear that, and it really makes you respect Tyler Perry. It shows how much he appreciates, respects, and values their body of work as black actors and actresses. A big thank you goes out to Mr. Tyler Perry for setting the standard and making it do what it do when it comes to paying black actors and actresses their work. Now, Tyler Perry's Divorce in the Black is rated R. And if you are interested in checking out this movie, you most certainly can do so because it is currently streaming on Prime Video. This is Dena Views and Reviews reminding you to subscribe, to like, to share, and leave your comments on what you thought of this movie. I am inviting you to join me right here weekly for another review or a movie recommendation. And most of all, I want you to remember, it's my view. Now, what you watching?